How's it going out there, YouTube? Today you'll be doing a wireless charging flex replacement on an iPhone 10. This will also, if you're having issues with volume up, volume down, or the mute switch, sometimes the button is with the button itself, other times it's with the, essentially the clicking mechanism, which obviously you'll see in a little bit. But yeah, so it replaces the entire assembly. I will leave a link in the description for where to find this particular part. I use Mobile Centrics for a lot of my parts. At least that's if you're in the US, or I think they ship to Canada. Yeah, I'm going to show you all of the parts and then how to do it. Full disclosure, this phone has been taken apart, so some of this will be a little bit easier than it might be on yours if your phone has never been taken apart, specifically getting off the screen and then also removing the battery. This is a battery and board out repair, which is kind of labor intensive, but I'll do my best. If there's anything that I left out, or if you have any questions, also feel free to reach out to me. Usually I leave my number or my WhatsApp or my actual phone number. So if you have any questions, yeah, hit me up. Also, if this video helps you, it really helps me out to smash the like button or lightly click it. I don't care. How about your boy? And with that said, let's get started. Some of the tools we're going to be using in no particular order are a Pentalobe, a Phillips, Y000 iFixit has a great bit. You'll stop stripping tri-wing screws. What else? Tweezers. I use pointed for the battery tabs, and then I use these like curved sharp ones for everything else. And then we're going to use a iSesamo, a magnetic mat, and then I will also use, I don't believe that I'm going to use it on this because, like I said, I've already taken apart this phone. I believe I just used double-sided tape when I put the battery back in. But for you, I will point this out at the time, but you can use 91 or 99%. It helps remove the battery tabs. If anyone has ever done a battery and had those tabs tear, you'll know how much of a pain it is. This will lower the chances of that happening. So, oh, and if you want to put your phone back together as close to factory, I don't have them here, but you can get, I would suggest getting more than one gasket, just because they have a tendency to just get an extra one. Sometimes they don't install correctly the first time, and then I don't think I have it handy, but get a the battery tabs. Also get another one of those. They're not very expensive. I mean, they shouldn't be more than like 50 or 75 cents. And they're nice if you plan on keeping this phone and you want to take it apart. They're nice because you can take it apart more easily the second time. So here we have our iSesamo. Now I'm not even going to use heat, but honestly, I usually don't use heat, even if this was OEM, but you can. It definitely does help soften up the adhesive, and pretty much we're just going to do that, get around a corner. The technique that I have, that I like, I mean, basically is you can run along. I don't even like that, and I would consider myself a professional. I just think it leaves too much room for error. You could accidentally sever the flex cables right there. So I like this twisting method. Basically does exactly the same thing, but your iSesamo stays put. Once again, that's a little bit easier because I've already opened the phone, but you just want to wiggle it out. Next, we're going to pull out all of these screws. don't believe I said nylon spudger, but I'll make sure to put a little clip in the beginning saying that. So first and last thing you always connect or disconnect is the battery. Usually I use my fingernail, but you just as easily can use the pointed end like so. Next, we basically gotta disconnect a bunch of stuff. So there's the screen, and then you can see the ear speaker flex is right there. Next, I'm going to, like I said, board out, remove our SIM. There is a little post right here. Make sure to put that in, or you'll have a hard time getting your battery out. Next, with the battery, I'm not going to do this on camera because I don't need to, but basically you want to take your, like I said, you need to get your battery out, so you need to take your pointed tweezers. Now, you don't have to do this. I've seen people do this online, but once again, if you want to avoid tearing the tabs, then what I normally do is I will pull out the Taptic engine, pull out the loudspeaker. So it is essentially, there's a couple of tri-wings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this little plate. Then you undo this flex cable. Then you pull out the loudspeaker, then you pull out the Taptic engine, and then you have 3 tabs right here, and then there's a 4th one up top. You don't need to remove anything to get to the 4th one. Then I will take a couple of drops of my rubbing alcohol, and then literally I just sort of do almost like spaghetti, where I'll grab it and then twirl and then pull out. Yeah, you only need a couple of drops of alcohol, but once again, for anyone who has done a battery that hasn't seen this method, you'll know how awesome it is once you try it. Once again, 91.99, don't use 70. So as I'm waiting for the alcohol to dry, I can start disconnecting a few flexes. I'm actually going to start with the rear camera. From here, there's a little flap, and then lift up at a roughly 90-degree angle, comes right out. Now as far as the camera goes, I don't really have a great access point, so I take, I guess honestly you could do this with any sort of tweezers, but you just want to, and you're not going to damage the camera, just like that, but you want to sort of, I think you can see it's a bit, you can see where my tool mark is. I promise you, your camera's fine. Pull cameras out all the time like that. Okay, then from here, we can start disconnecting everything else. As you can see, this right here is our wireless charger. Oh, NFC. I think that's what this little stupid thing there is. Oh, I may be wrong. I'm almost positive it's NFC. So, then from here, pull out your camera. This is our rear mic, flash, power, or side. And then we have the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. This is the most fragile of them all. So you don't want to bend it back 90 degrees, just enough. Now we can proceed with removing the board. Now there is this little, like, I don't even know how to describe it. This little thing right here, which sits under here. So I don't know if you've noticed, but I just sort of wedge it in and then lift up. I don't know why I'm narrating that. You just saw it on video. Okay. Now, as you can see, our flex shoots off here. So there are a couple of screws we're going to have to remove next. I mean, there are 6 in this actual assembly. And then there's also this little dude right here, which gives us access to being able to pull out just that one. But yeah. So at least on this model, there is adhesive around 360 degrees. I'm going to do this, even though I've already removed this, I'm going to do this exactly the way I would normally, but I start here. And literally what I'll do is I'll heat up the back of the phone, and then I will sort of wedge my tweezers in there. If you're worried about scratching it, you just as easily can use your pointed nylon spudger. And then once that's there, I mean, really all you need is sort of a corner, and then you can get the rest in, and then with enough heat, this will come out pretty easily. And really all you should need to do is just lift up just like that. Now be real gentle. As you can see, these are sort of, they don't normally do that. Normally these are held down with adhesive. Same thing with this, but you mainly want to be concerned with, wait, getting ahead of myself. You're replacing this part, who cares? Sorry, I'm thinking about this myself. Then from here, you'll probably have to use a little bit of elbow grease to get it out. But usually this comes off just fine, and then it's the mute switch, which you sort of need to wedge something into and pull it out. Normally, you would need to, and I will show you how to do this, but normally you'll need to remove this actual switch and then transfer it over to the new flex assembly, or to the bracket, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to do my best, because it's very small. But you'll notice that there are these hoops right here. This is the most difficult part, I would say, of the entire repair. It's annoying. I don't know why they needed to design it this way, but they did. But right here we have these 2 hoops. Now, really, to get it out, all you really need to do is sort of get one of them out. If you really want to, you can sort of lift up, and you can bend them back into place pretty easily. And then it'll come out just like this. Now, I'm just going to reuse this exact part, but what you want to make sure of on your new one, and it should just come like this, But here's, once again, here is a better look. Right there, you can see these little hoops. You want to just sort of push them into place. So you can see right there, dude 1, dude 2. Now, also, when you're putting this back in, you'll notice that the red line goes on top. I grab my pointed tweezers just like this. And the next part, which is kind of difficult, is, do you see, so let me see this right here. So this little black switch in the middle has to align, and I don't believe I'll be able to get this on camera, but you sort of just need to fiddle with it until like that. So when I started that, it wasn't lined, but you sort of just pull it out and then drop it on. Now, depending on where you got yours from, a lot of them will come with like little bits of film. So you just want to peel those off. And I don't really have any adhesive, so I'm going to take some adhesive and lay this down. But a lot of the ones that come from, like if you're ordering it from Mobile Centrics, I'm almost positive that they have adhesive on all of theirs, so you basically won't need to do what I'm doing. Now, you want to make sure, you'll notice that there's this little, I don't even know how to describe that, but you can see there's this little cutout right there. There's a pattern that follows this right here. So you want to make sure to lay the wireless charger down. Because it has a tendency to sort of start flopping all over the place. Once it's in place, usually the first thing that I'll do is drop the mute switch in. Now with these longer brackets, they are kind of a pain. There we go. Actually, I lied. All right. This is exactly what I mean. So this is the most, this switch doesn't want to pop out, which is why you're always better off doing this. There we go. Then once that's in place, this is kind of difficult to do because you're doing this one-handed. So just for the time being, get one in. And I'm not even tightening these 4 all the way. The reason being is if you tighten one, sometimes they have a tendency to, it'll be off kilter by just a fraction of a millimeter. And then you go to tighten the other ones and then you're struggling with it, it's slipping, it won't go into the post, and you're wondering, you know, you're cursing, why is this not working? So I will wait till, at least on this 4, the last one that I tightened is in the middle. Then once that one's in, then I'll go back and I'll tighten the rest. that. Then after that, we'll make sure that there's an audible click. And there is. So we can now proceed. This is the annoying part because we need to get past all of these. It's even more annoying if your front camera is because it's 3 more flexes. Then we need to get past, so sort of tuck these out of the way as much as you can. Start with, remember that little piece right here, you want to make sure this gets under. Then once that's there, I will fold back the Wi-Fi Bluetooth flex. And then before I drop one of my screws in, honestly, this shouldn't be too much of an issue for you if yours is factory, but just I always like to get the charging port in first. Then the board screws. And then from here, you can just start basically reversing everything. There is an alignment to this little plate right here. So you'll notice this little piece that sticks up sits on the inside. So it goes right here and then sticks up right here. Just like that. I know I get a bit long-winded sometimes, but the whole point I created this channel was because a lot of the times I would see dudes on YouTube, I'd be taking on a repair that I'd never done before, and they would do something, and it's like a lot of the little stuff they would leave out, and then I'd think, why the heck can't you show me another angle of that? So I apologize, unless you like it. So then we come here. I will say this is the most problematic. It has a tendency to not always want to stay in place, which is why this retaining bracket is so important. So we have our plate, or whatever you want to call this. Make sure to fold back this. Then this sort of large, almost like chin looking thing goes in first. And from here, so this little plate goes underneath this little thing right here. Majigger. We can drop our sim back in. I will mention, I don't know if you can tell right here, but there is you can sort of tell right here, but there is a little dongle, or once again, a jigger, whatever you want to call it. What do you call it? Leave a comment. Goes under, it basically slides in right here. So that under piece, that little, whatever piece that was sticking out goes underneath here. If it doesn't, then you'll damage your screen. When you're closing the phone, it'll stick up, and most people will have a tendency to just push down. Then you'll damage your screen. Like I said, I'm trading this phone in, or customers trading it in, so I don't need to nitpick things as much, which is why I'm just going to reuse this tape. It's enough to hold it in place. Now, as far as you, if you're, depending on what you did to reinstall it, if you went through the process of actually taking the battery adhesive and then you laid the command strip type battery adhesive, or whatever you're doing, usually what I like to do is I will get the flex aligned before I press down, because the last thing you want to do is have the flex be sitting too high or too low, and then it makes getting it connected to the board an absolute nightmare. Now I don't think you probably need me from here, but I'll mention one more thing. Screws have a tendency to get stuck to the gasket. They also have a tendency to get stuck to the loudspeaker and then the Taptic engine. So before you go closing your phone, just make sure you don't have any screws stuck down, because you will have a tendency, because you could accidentally damage the OLED. You could crack the OLED or damage the OLED when closing it up. Now, one last thing. I realized I said one last thing. But you can... Yeah, it's not working. So as we see, our flex is right here. If it's an OEM screen, you shouldn't have a problem with this, but if you have an aftermarket screen, the aftermarket screens have a tendency to, the flex sticks too far out and it can get pinched in between the frame. So what you want to do is with your spudger, about right here, you can sort of push. So let me see. So right where that apple is, that is where you're pushing the flex into. Once again, if your screen is original, you shouldn't have an issue with this. It's just the aftermarkets that don't have a tendency to want to fit in there. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. Like I said, I know I get a little bit long-winded going into every little detail. So if I was a help, please leave a comment. Let me know how your repair went. Also, gently tap that like button. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.